you know we're back. Back live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know what time it is? It's Renovation Nation time. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Hope you enjoyed last week's show. Yes, this isn't a repeat. We had Kevin Mannix and Bill Bird of IKO on talking commercial roofing and commercial maintenance and how important that is. And actually, we received some calls this week. Going to be going out and seeing some people that have a metal roof or a TPO or EPDM and had some leaks with all this weather we've had. And we went ahead and went out there, and I was able to stop leaks automatically just by even underwater with some of the products that we use. And if you've seen it online on our YouTube channel, A Standard Conversation, which is the RTM Renovation Nation page, you can go watch last week's and catch a lot of stuff that we're putting out there. Our website's almost ready. It will be, I'm almost positive, this week and ready to go, and it's got lots of information. And I let the cat out of the bag a little bit. There's not a lot of text on there. You're not going to have to do a lot of reading. You can actually watch it and listen to it. And it might be me, it might be somebody else, but it's going to be information you need to know about your roof and about just RTM in general. Anyhow, and I do have a guest this week. Yeah, I'm teasing you a little bit. I do have a guest this week. I mean, this is like a world record since like 2017 or 18 that I've had so many guests and shows and haven't had to miss one yet, which is good. But you know, it's good getting people in, and we're going to be bringing some new things to the show over the next few months, and you'll see what that is. We might talk about it a little bit today, but then again, it might just be a surprise. But I want to go ahead and get out there. Well, first of all, I've already jumped the gun on everything. I'm Chad Rowland, owner of RTM Roofing, host of this crazy show called Renovation Nation, coming at you live from Super Talk 99.7 WTN, but from the undisclosed location of Studio 378. And anyhow, I want to remind you, if it's time for that roof inspection, and for a lot of you it is. I put an ad out the other day, not even an ad, it was a video, a loop, a reel, or whatever you call that stuff, showing, I think it was 5 storm dates since March 30th. Of wind and hail that, you know, nobody's been hit twice, at least in the storm maps I've seen, but I know there are a lot of door-to-door solicitors, a lot of mail, flyers, robocalls, all that you're getting inundated with. Well, remember to call RTM Roofing if you're in doubt. 615-500-0751, 500-0751, or go to rtmroofing.com for all your roofing, siding, soffit, fascia, gutters, chimney caps, skylights, and now commercial repair and or replacement needs. And that's what we talked about last week, was a lot of, not everything's a replacement in commercial, nor residential, but on commercial, there's a lot more repairs that can happen and keep your business operating that you don't have to shell out the 6 digits. And we can get you budgeted and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to have some shows coming up about more details on that because it's important. And we want to join the game. You know, we're good at stopping leaks, and why not stop yours at your business? Anyhow, so I guess I might as well introduce this guy. I really didn't want to have him on the show, but
times are hard.
But he's been on it hundreds of times in the past. If you're an OG from the 17, 18, not 19 days, he was known back then. He would call in. That was the only phone calls we ever took, except one call that Kevin got let through one time. We're like, what's this? This is a normal person. I thought it was you. And I'm like, we don't take calls. And but nevertheless, he'd always call in as shoestring.
Is this Brad?
Is this, yeah. And I mean, I went back and listened to them, and they're hilarious. But anyway, sitting here with Brandon Mitchell, and we'll find out what he's doing. But what's up, big man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me out here. This beautiful spreads you've got out here on the mountain.
Well, it's only taken 5 years for you to get out here, by the way.
I know. I feel low. Actually, I bought a new house just prior to Chad getting this place, and had Chad come out and do all the, just do the roof maintenance on it before I moved in. It was part of the negotiations of buying the place, and he was there before I even owned it, and I have just not made it out this way. But it's an hour and a half for me, and
Well, it's an hour anywhere you go.
Yeah, I mean it is, but I guess you're just not worth the extra 30
That's
minutes.
what I was
not to hurt your feelings.
I think the last text I sent you before you called me the other day was I'm up like 3 to none.
Yeah, I literally think about it sometimes, and I feel very guilty that I haven't been out here, and then I'm just like, well, screw that. I'm gonna watch something on TV. Can't think about that.
Right.
Can't think
I get
about
it.
that.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So what are you doing now? What have you been up to?
Yeah, man. So now for gainful employment, I have predominantly turned into a house pet for folks. I do primarily kitchens and baths, remodels. I don't do any new construction. I like remodeling. It's it's not complicated, but it's not. You can go into a situation no matter how educated you are and always come away having some kind of challenge.
100%.
Yeah, so I enjoy that. It'd be very similar if you had a tech that just really loved repairs.
Yeah.
It's
a different beast. I mean, there's a need for that. But maybe this is actually good. You said it that way. It's something I've been wanting to ask for a while, and maybe you've got an explanation for it.
Yeah.
Because I will rewind for a second. The caveat is I've said on the show before, I picked the one industry that everybody needs,
but nobody cares about.
Nobody wants. Then I edit that to pay for.
Yeah,
right. But they will spend $20,000, $50,000, $100,000, $500,000 on their kitchen, their bathroom, add-ons, or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. But when you go out to them with a roof that you have to have any of that.
Yeah.
And it's $18,000 or it's $25,000 or it's whatever. It's not $10,000 anymore unless you've got the shed in the back.
No, it's not.
Why do people focus on that and not the main thing that protects everything so they can have that?
Because it's pretty.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's pretty, and nobody's looking at your roof. And like years ago, I worked at Lowe's selling ceiling fans and stuff. And man, you'd get these people in there that would go look at this fan, and they would just stare at that fan and take forever.
Yeah,
and I've got to go stock something, or need to go do something else, and they just keep asking me. And it finally got to the point where I would just go, look, man, like after today. Nobody walks in your house and just comes in and stares at your ceiling fan. They glance over. As long as it kind of fits the profile and all that, it's good. And,
but they
unless
might be
you've got a gorgeous, like, okay, so if my roof was like cedar shake installed by,
solid copper or something,
or something like that, where you're looking at it like where it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Nobody does that, and it's unfortunate, but and most homeowners, like I get into this a lot, being in remodeling. We just kind of in passing talked about it earlier about how it sucks for you because nobody will do routine things,
Maintenance.
right? And so and I think we were talking a lot about the. You're down playing door knockers and all that, but you're one of the most dynamic people I've ever met, and you were a door knocker. And so some of those people are quality people
100%.
that are just trying to get their foot in the door and feed their families.
But it's their methods now. In other words, and I've said this before on there, when I first started in this industry at a previous company, they weren't getting leads. And a lot of the companies that are door knocking aren't getting leads. People aren't calling them. They're going to you, right? And back in my day, as I like to say, back in the alt 12s and 13s, I actually only door knocked for like 3 months, and after that, I never had to door knock again.
Yeah.
But I drove around looking for missing shingles.
Right.
You've
now
got a problem.
It's just a mass.
Now it's a numbers game. They will do the whole street, missing shingles or not. This is hailstorms, right? They'll get a hail map, and they will canvass that area. And the one thing I've realized is that 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and I'm throwing out numbers. These aren't real numbers, but I'm going to show you a percentage. Is that, let's say there were 3,000 door knockers in the Nashville metropolitan area.
Okay.
Right? And if I was going to get my finger wet and feel the wind blowing, I'd say you have more than now, probably 8, 10, 12, 15,000. So it's a lot. It's exponential than what it was.
Right.
That model.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with that model. I get it. But a lot of problems I have, and even when I did door knock, we were local. For the company. We were here. We all lived here. The office was here. There was no corporate getting sent to another state. And everybody wants to buy local, right? You buy local.
Yeah.
And and it's fine. Some of these companies are great. Some of these companies are great, coming in doing great work. But some come in and do work and they leave, and your warranty went with it.
And my point in bringing that point up was that unlike a kitchen remodel or a bathroom remodel, if a tile cracks, you're seeing it that day. If you're not having a roof inspection and don't really care to look up there, most homeowners, I would say in the high 90s,
yes,
don't know the roof is leaking until they see the spot in the drywall.
And it's been doing that for days, months, years.
Since day one in some cases.
I went there was a gentleman I used to network with. I can't think of his name right now, but I always do, how old's your roof? When's the last time you got inspected? You sleep in your car anymore? Well, why don't you maintenance your roof? And he had moved in. He said, it's a brand new home. It's less than a year. I said, okay. I said, but call me out before that year's up.
Right.
Let me just look at it.
Right.
I said, because number one, you got a 1-year home warranty, and if you don't know, you don't know. And number two, you need to know anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I get on his roof. He had a little shed that was lower, on the ground, but the house, little shed roof, it was probably 10 foot off the ground.
Yeah.
It had never had ridge cap put on it. This is like month 8 or 9. I didn't even see. You couldn't really notice it from the ground. Right. I mean, it was like 8, 9, 10 foot above your head. It wasn't.
But once somebody on the crew missed it, and it's.
I don't know, but it definitely
got blown off.
No, it had never been there. The shingles had no nail holes in them. They go up to meet.
Right.
And
stuff happens.
And it was in a little closet he never went to. It was behind the fireplace and yada yada yada. But I didn't even know it until I got up on his roof with the upper level.
Right.
And I'm just over sitting on the ridge looking around. I look down. I'm like, I could see wood frame. That was gray. That header or whatever, that top bar. Yeah. It's gray. So it's been there since day one.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's your prime example. It's not everything's that. But yes, water's getting in there. It was a little out room that really, 100%. It was easy to fix and da-da-da. But if it hadn't have been, what if that was another area that's going down a wall?
100%.
That now you've got to bring in a $100,000 remediation company.
Yep.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'm trying to tell you, people, is get your roof inspected. And you can do that by calling RTM Roofing at 615-500-0751. We're sitting here with Brandon Mitchell. We're really going to find out what he does here in a minute. I think he's just pulling a shoestring. Well, you're listening to Renovation Nation live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. See you in 3. I guess I need to go ahead and throw out there that, a lot of wins lately. There's a lot of door-to-door solicitors that's, going everywhere. Just always remember, know what you're signing if you sign anything, and get a second opinion. Now, that's what I'll tell you. But if you think you have damage, do you know you have damage? I don't. We haven't been there yet. But if you want us to come out for your complimentary roof inspection, call RTM Roofing at 615-500-0751, 500-0751, or go to rtmroofing.com for all your roofing, siding, soffit, fascia, gutters, chimney caps, and here recently some skylights. Needs, repairs and replacements. Welcome to RTM Roofing Commercial Division. Not only do we do replacements, we also do commercial repairs. Budgeting for you. And when times like this happen and you need to stop the water, you can't just change a panel. You roll over it. With RTM and Everest Roofing Systems. Their products are beyond any that I've ever worked with. And at RTM Roofing, we only use the best. And it doesn't cost as much as the rest. Call RTM Roofing at 615-500-0751. Well, stick around, because here comes another great segment. And we're back. Back live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know what time it is. It's Renovation Nation time. Yes, it is. Sitting here with Brandon Mitchell. We'll find out with whom or who or what here shortly, but I'm Chad Rowland, owner of RTM Roofing, host of this crazy show called Renovation Nation. And as I always like to say, it is a Seinfeld episode. I'm old. I'll turn 53 actually this week. And just another
happy
day.
Birthday. That was yesterday.
It's this week. It was on Monday.
Oh.
Yeah, they think I'm older. Day's Saturday.
Yo, God,
don't you know what
man.
day it is?
Yeah, I forgot.
Where you at? That hour and a half got you, didn't it?
We've had that flood down there, and a lot of flooding, and I've forgot what day it was.
We're going to get into that. We're going to get no, but it's all good.
Yeah.
It's just another day, but nevertheless, I've squirreled now, but that's okay.
Yeah, just 53.
Yeah, I turned 53.
How you bounce around.
And bounce around and all
and
that
then
good
I bounce
stuff.
around. I don't even know what day of the week it is.
But it's a Seinfeld episode, so I call it a Seinfeld episode because it's a great show about stuff. I don't know why I keep getting all these things, but it's a great show about, sometimes nothing until we turn it into something. But today we're sitting here with Brandon. Brandon. Almost called you Brendan. I saw him this week too.
Yeah. Oh, Brendan.
And I gotta mute that stuff at some point. But let me do that right there. All right, got too many things going. Okay, let me stop. Rewind.
Way too popular.
You're listening to Renovation Nation, sitting here with Brandon Mitchell. We'll remind you, it is time for your annual inspection. Maybe it's your inaugural inspection, and you can't count your home inspector as the inaugural. It's get a roofer. Now, the home inspector's great. We had Johnny Harper on here. He knows what he's doing. But he will still tell you to contact a professional if he sees something. But, everybody's human, and people miss stuff. But if it's time for that annual or inaugural inspection, call 615-500-0751, 500-0751, or go to rtmroofing.com for all your roofing, siding, soffit, fascia, gutters, chimney caps, skylights. Let's throw in a dog there too, and commercial repair and replacement needs. And mainly, we're looking for a lot of commercial repair people right now. We want to help you get on a budget. Hey, back to Brandon Mitchell sitting here. Are you taking calls, or are you doing anything like that now? I mean, do you want people to contact you, or are you just coming on talking?
No, absolutely. I mean, I don't do this for fun. I have to pay the bills and stuff. Yeah. And so, it's nice to have that. And you can contact me at 615-456-5166. I'll just say that now so that you
I got it. Yeah, and that's 615-456
and that's
5166.
Yes, sir. And that's really what I'm best at are kitchens and baths. I mean, that's my bread and butter. And so if you're looking into that, you definitely need to get in contact with me before you do anything with anyone else. There's a couple of ways that I do business that, for one, saves you money and appeals to just the nature of who I am.
Well, knowing you for as long as I've known you now, which is almost 10. I don't know, my phone's blowing up. It's almost. Oh heck, it's over 10 years.
Yeah,
it's now
I've been
12
doing
or 13.
What I'm doing 10. I met you
in 2012 at BNI.
Mm-hmm.
We were in BNI when I first met you.
Yeah,
and for those, I'm not promoting BNI, but if you've never spoken in front of people, and you don't know how to network,
absolutely,
they have their games and all their stuff that they do. The inner rivalries of the areas of the BNI chapters, but
right.
It's a great thing to go at least once.
It's kind of like college. Literally, you should, unless you're going to be in upper management and running that BNI, you need to be out of there in 7 years.
Yeah.
It's like a college. You can learn a lot, but unless you're going to go up into upper management in BNI, or your turnover of clients, is so quick and it's a one and done type thing.
Yeah.
But as long as you are somebody who does good work, you're going to end up getting too much business. I mean, the people you meet there, and learning how to organize your thoughts, be concise, I mean, I have a whole section in my phone that has started out BNI. It just says BNI, then the people's name and what they do. And it takes up like 30% of the room in my contact list. And I can't tell you how often I consult it. I'm just trying.
I still know everybody I met. At least there's some I don't remember, but there's a lot. I'm still free, like Brendan Behan, met him there, and John Garrett, and Steve Morris and you and a lot of the old school, what I call old school, but it is great for networking if you don't know how to network.
Yeah, absolutely. And so anyway, that's
I'm not
what
getting paid for that either, but it is a good quality of stuff. If it's not that, find something to get out and beat the trees with.
So,
what do you call your company? Are you calling your company or just Brandon Mitchell?
Okay, so I spent so much money trying to design a logo and what I'm going to call myself and all that kind of stuff when I was first starting out. And honestly, man, I've not given anybody really a quote in over 4 years. It's just, I go in and I impress my client with something that's an expensive thing.
Explain that to me, because that sounds a little crazy at first.
That will blend into the I could talk on that, and that would blend in probably the next segment would go that. But what I'm trying to say is, if you have never been involved in a kitchen remodel in your life, okay, bathrooms are pretty bad. Master bathrooms are pretty bad. But a kitchen remodel is akin to an open heart surgery on your home.
It is the heart of your home.
Yeah. And like people say, I spend a lot of time in the kitchen. You will have a great experience with me. I'm clean. I'm concise. I let you know what to expect going into it, and I don't fool around. But you will be so glad to see me leave when I leave, because there's turnaround times. If you were committed to saying, hey, I'm gonna work 24 hours a day in your home because you're wanting me out in a week, it's not possible.
No, it's not.
Because there's an order in which things have to happen, and there's always a wait. And your main wait time is when your countertops go in.
Yep.
So you'll get everything to the point where you install your cabinets, and then that comes and measures, and then they have a fabrication turnaround time. They just don't keep stone miraculously the exact size. It has to be cut, and that takes a long time to cut those stones. And so there's always a shutdown point, and then there's certain things that can't happen till that stone goes. In fact, if it wasn't for having to wait for countertops, you could move pretty fast.
It's sort of like getting a deer mounted. You got to wait on the skin to get back. It takes so long.
Exactly. There's just a process to it. So in my opinion, you're losing so much time on a project anyway due to the process that I believe it's my job primarily to do good work.
Right.
But that's face value.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that's uneducated can walk in and go, this looks awful.
Yeah,
or this looks great.
That's right.
So that's on the face value for that. And there's a lot of great guys in this town, and there's a lot of good women in this town that do good work, and maybe in some ways are better than me.
I think the one thing that separates you, because I've known you for a while, so I've seen you work. I go back to the Lock Bridge where you made this walking bridge in Nolensville, or this little bridge.
Yeah.
And you, one thing I like, you've got the designing eye. Some people can build stuff. But you've got that designer angle the way your brain operates, and you always like doing something a little different. It leaves your mark. I always call it, right?
Yeah.
And you end up hanging these, went and bought locks, and there's like 100 locks on this little walkway bridge, like 30-foot little fence.
It was actually what it was.
It's gorgeous.
It was a rail for an outdoor deck, and it fit the.
Oh, I was thinking, in my head, I've still got to walk.
It was a rail, and we used like cattle fencing, and then mimicked, the bridge in France.
I was like, what do you mean? Then you told me you turned into Ed Van Vries and told me an 1800 story about.
I've actually found a bunch of locks, found a lot of old locks that met the time frame of that house, and then I think the homeowner had a party and gave everybody a lock to write something on and clasp it on there, and they threw the keys under the deck.
Oh no, I forgot about. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what separates you.
Less of that kind of stuff now because it's driven more by CAD drawings and stuff like that. I've gone more into precision and more into efficiency.
But your attention to detail, though, and thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
Still, no CAD drawings or not, because I can draw you a drawing all day long. Now go build it.
Yeah.
You still got to adjust.
There is some guys will come in and literally install it. Like the drawings say, and that's not always.
No,
you have a little bit of.
You're always working with a pig if it's already there.
Exactly.
So, anyways, we're sitting here with Brandon Mitchell. You're listening to Renovation Nation. We're talking all kinds of things today. Like I said, it's that Seinfeld episode, and we've spun it to locks on railings. But nevertheless, if it's that time for annual inspection, give RTM Roofing a call, 500-0751. When we come back, I don't know, maybe we got a key for that lock. We'll see you in 3. I guess I need to go ahead and throw out there that, a lot of wins lately. There's a lot of door-to-door solicitors that's, going everywhere. Just always remember, know what you're signing if you sign anything, and get a second opinion. Now, that's what I'll tell you. But if you think you have damage, do you know you have damage? I don't. We haven't been there yet. But if you want us to come out for your complimentary roof inspection, call RTM Roofing at 615-500-0751, 500-0751, or go to rtmroofing.com for all your roofing, siding, soffit, fascia, gutters, chimney caps, and here recently some skylights. Needs, repairs and replacements. Welcome to RTM Roofing Commercial Division. not only do we do replacements, we also do commercial repairs. Budgeting for you. And when times like this happen and you need to stop the water, you can't just change a panel. You roll over it. With RTM and Everest Roofing Systems. Their products are beyond any that I've ever worked with. And at RTM Roofing, we only use the best. And it doesn't cost as much as the rest. Call RTM Roofing at 615-500-0751. Well, stick around because here comes another great segment. And you know we're back live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know what time it is? It's Renovation Nation time. Yes, it is. Live this morning. Although we're not downtown, we're at the undisclosed studio 378. We're coming at you from the interwebs and airwaves of 99.7. But I'm Chad Rowland, owner of RTM Roofing, host of this crazy show, reminding you it is time for your annual inspection. With all the storms that's come through, you've made it through winter. Now we've had multiple storms in the last couple of weeks, and you've probably had door knockers and mailers and robocalls and sitting here with Brandon Mitchell, by the way, which he's not doing that. But the funny part is the best one I've heard is someone left a handwritten note. We'll get you a new roof. Period. Then a name number.
Intimate.
Right? Yeah, it's beautiful,
it's
right?
It's intimate.
It's beautiful. But
dear home.
Yeah, for the most expensive part of your home that protects everything you own. And don't get me wrong, this is the irony of it. To me,
he may be fantastic.
He may be the best in the daggum world than anybody else.
I know.
But there is first impressions matter.
Yeah.
They really do. And then the rubber hits the road.
Absolutely.
But nevertheless, if it is that time, or you even have a doubt, or you've been door knocked, or not just door knocked, I hate to keep saying it that way because it's not a bad thing. It is what it is. But there are people getting inundated by it, and and they don't know. They don't know what, that's what cracks me up is that if I come out and take a picture and anybody can get up on the roof and draw a circle or something and get down the roof and look at you and go, hey, see that right there? That's damage. And you're like, oh, okay. It's like going to the doctor and he says this. I mean, you don't know. You're like, I got to believe what he says because these guys are good. And and maybe you do, maybe you don't, right? I'm not saying either way on that, but these guys are good. Usually it's coming out and doing this. And some do angles. And I don't like those angles on the ones that do the angles. Now, if it's legitimate, fair enough. You do what you got to do. But why file a claim if you don't really have legitimate damage? And I've got over 3 friends. They didn't file. One did file. And I've been on his roof twice last year. And he knows who he is. You know who you're doing, Mr. Hay Hauler back in 1987 with me. Yeah. And he let some call him and talk him. And then he got it. State Farm came out, no damage. Nice. He goes, don't worry, Rollo, you're going to do my roof. I'm like, no, I'm not, because you signed that contract. You got 3 days right of rescission, and the contract is we'll meet with your adjuster. And I don't blame him if I'm going to come out and do extra work. But my point I'm leading to is that he had no damage, and I told him that twice. I mean, trust me, if I would file it, if I lived here, and I would go by that way, if I lived at your house, Brandon, and I'm seeing this kind of damage, it's 50-50 to 80-20. 50-50 is a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
And sometimes those get caught. That's your call. I don't really know what I do, but I'll do whatever it's, Or 80-20 is 8 out of 10 times this roof should be covered every day of the week. And I'm calling my insurance before I spend a dime on it no matter what they do because it's that bad.
Yeah.
Right?
And
that's what insurance is for.
And you've got to shot it.
And if it doesn't,
help them absorb some of that.
Well, technically, you should get the shot, way I look at it, but it's not always that way. It's reality, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyways, if you're in that predicament, or don't even know if you're in that predicament, or just want to protect everything that you own that's underneath that roof, call RTM Roofing at 615-500-0751, 500-0751, or go to rtmroofing.com for all your roofing, siding, soffit, fascia, gutters, chimney caps, skylights, and now commercial repairs and replacements. Yeah, eventually that thing's going to be like 40 cents. I keep adding each year. Only thing I'm never going to add is windows, though.
Yeah, right.
We're not window people. I can't tell you. I can tell you windows $100, $1,000, or $5,000.
Right.
Good luck, because the roofers are bad enough. The window people are. I ain't knocking them because it really. If you get the right windows for your home, they're expensive. It does do modern technology. Pretty great.
Absolutely.
So now let's get back to you, Brandon. Now we got all the things right there out of the way, what you were talking earlier. If I'm we were at my place earlier, and you walked in. I was showing you some ideas of the kitchen that me and Kim have been thinking about for a while, trying to save up for.
Yep.
What's your process?
Okay, so the first thing, typically what I'm doing now are complete. I don't do as many where we use what's there. I usually do what I call full start overs. Okay, so that usually involves maybe even taking out walls. Or it's for major
So you're
renovations.
not doing cosmetic to most. You're usually knocking out and starting over.
I'm starting over with a new line of cabinetry, typically. That's kind of all I'm doing now.
Or a new kitchen layout. They may be moving something from left to right and one side of the room
I
to the other.
usually throw the cabinets in the dumpster.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually
There's
starting
$4.75 a square foot, isn't it?
Yeah. So what I do is usually, like I said, I'll get a phone call. Hey, you were referred to me by such and such. And kitchens are cool like that because there's a long process. Like from the day we talk, there's a long process to it. And so you have plenty of lead time up to it. So if you called me and said, Brandon, I want to talk about my kitchen, I wouldn't even come to your house initially.
Right.
You and I are just going to have a phone conversation.
That's what you did to me.
And
Go ahead.
and have a phone conversation concerning what your plans are. And then I have work with a designer. She has her own cabinet line, and so she's actually the first point of contact in my system because she's the map.
Is that computer generated or is that actual person?
No, she's a real person that comes out. Her name's Hester Coquey, and she's wonderful. And so she'll come out and meet with the homeowner and find out what they're wanting because she actually does a full rendered CAD setup, and when she presents it,
she
to
shows
the client,
it to you.
When she presents it to the client, it's got lighting and the exact profiles. It looks like a picture of a kitchen, and it's computer generated.
And expected, and that's what yours should almost within reason should look like.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. There's not going to be certain.
Nothing like a visual.
Yep. So she does that first. Once she gets that, then then I need to come out because I need to verify that what she's got's there
that right. You can do.
Yeah, like for example, yesterday I went and looked at one where we were in that stage, and there was a place in there that every other contractor who had come out there had said, we can do this and we're going to knock this wall out so you can do a cabinet. Well, that turned out to not be the case. Nobody had ever opened the wall up. They were just assuming here. And one thing, if you're in your home and there's something weird, like why is there a box in the corner of that room? It's more expensive for a builder to do something like that. So he or she did not do that by accident. So if something's weird, like if there's a bump out on a wall or something that doesn't look right, that means there's something back there that they're fixing. And so anyway, so I said, look, we're doing this project, right? And they said, yeah. And I said, it was inside of a closet. And I said, do you mind if I borrow a hammer and knock a hole in this wall in this thing to verify we can do this? And I said, it'll be hidden back here. And they were like, no, that's no big deal. Just take a hammer and knock a small hole and, clean up the debris. Just got lucky. Right where I knocked a hole, there's a 4-inch sewage line that's feeding the entire second floor. So every other person that she had come in there had already made CAD drawings that they had charged them for and were setting up and getting ready to do cabinets on a wall that once the cabinet showed up would have been sticking out in the room 17 inches past the line of cabinets.
Change order.
Yeah. So, well, no, they would have opened the wall up, and yes, it would have definitely been a change order that would have cost the homeowner. And it's not just the money it would have cost them. That's okay. So so I come to your house and do it, and we get everything going. Looks good. Let's order. And they pull the trigger and they put the deposit on the cabinets. It's 6 weeks before cabinets show up.
What is the average price of cabinets? Now I know it can range, but just give me just the standard. If you don't have X, you're not even getting a cabinet.
That all really depends. I mean,
there's handles, but just general.
So a good rule of thumb is like 15% of your home value.
Oh, geez.
Can be. So 10 to 15%.
So it's not going to be $50 or $100 a square foot or board foot or however that goes.
No, it 100% can.
Okay.
You can go do that.
Okay.
you can go anywhere and get
Well, no,
what
I understand
I'm trying
that.
to say
No,
is,
I understand
so
that.
like imagine it this way. Let's imagine that you go out and you buy I'm a truck guy, so I don't really know, but let's say you buy a Mercedes S-Class blottity. The $150,000 car.
$199.
And then you're like, man, I don't like these seats.
Yep.
So I'm going to get them replaced. And you come in and put a couple of lawn chairs bolted with straps in that.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So it's important, in my opinion, to keep the same level of quality on your home as already's in there.
Well,
does it make sense coming in a $100,000 home and doing an $80,000 kitchen? Absolutely not.
No, but it also doesn't mean you buy the $1,500 ones either. So there's a level of what you usually do
Absolutely.
anyhow. So on your level,
on my level, I have two options.
That's what I'm getting at. On your level, on your general average of everything you've done,
I would say
average?
the cabinets alone. Is that what we're talking about?
Just that.
It really depends on the line and what we're doing in the construction.
But the overall,
it could be anywhere. Okay, so I've had cabinets for like a 12 by 12 kitchen or something. The estimate come in at $15,000. I've had it come in at $27,000.
What's a ballpark per square foot or whatever? Like,
I don't keep up with that. You want the whole project start to finish?
No,
or just cabinetry.
I just think cabinetry, because
new cabinetry can cost you anywhere from $15,000 to $100,000
and up. Yeah, so there you go. So no matter what,
I have installed cabinets that were for a pretty normal sized kitchen, nothing crazy. Maybe 26, 30 boxes, which is kind of that's maybe a bigger kitchen,
right?
And it'd be just the cabinets were like $87,000.
Yeah.
And then I've also done them.
The only reason I'm even bringing that up, because I remember the very first show Chris Gelberth and I ever did when he was here when we started, we did about bathrooms.
Yep.
And we come up with a bathroom can be, if you didn't, the bare minimum, if you didn't at least have $5,000, you weren't doing anything in the bathroom back then.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm getting at though, but that could easily go to 50 or 100. And with a kitchen, people don't sometimes comprehend. They're looking at their cabinets going, I can get that about $1,000. I'll get all that. And it's going to end up being, like you said, like an average minimum, $15,000. You're like, $15,000? So I would say 50 for my kitchen. I'm going to need, 65 now, because I didn't think I was going to be there. And we come back, sitting here with Brandon Mitchell. We come back, we're going to get into more of that. And I want to hear how he gives the contract, because I've still not heard that yet. I've heard all this talking, but not heard anything else. But when we get back, it's going to be all good. We'll see you until you listen to Renovation Nation. I guess I need to go ahead and throw out there that, a lot of wins lately. There's a lot of door-to-door solicitors that's, going everywhere. Just always remember, know what you're signing if you sign anything, and get a second opinion. Now, that's what I'll tell you. But if you think you have damage, do you know you have damage? I don't. Haven't been there yet. But if you want us to come out for your complimentary roof inspection, call RTM Roofing at 615-500-0751, 500-0751, or go to rtmroofing.com for all your roofing, siding, soffit, fascia, gutters, chimney caps, and here recently some skylights. Needs, repairs and replacements. Welcome to RTM Roofing Commercial Division. Not only do we do replacements, we also do commercial repairs. Budgeting for you. And when times like this happen and you need to stop the water, you can't just change a panel. You roll over it. With RTM and Everest Roofing Systems. Their products are beyond any that I've ever worked with. And at RTM Roofing, we only use the best. And it doesn't cost as much as the rest. Call RTM Roofing at 615-500-0751. Well, stick around, because here comes another great segment. And we're back live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know what time it is? It's Renovation Nation time. all day long.
Yep.
And twice on Saturdays.
Yeah. It was a beautiful Saturday.
And by the way, you can listen again tonight if you've missed any of the show today. Sitting here with Brandon Mitchell.
Yep.
9 p.m. to 10 p.m. And if you missed the whole show altogether and catch us at the very end, which I'm not going to say it there, so you missed this statement. You can go to YouTube to a standard conversation or just Google RTM Roofing, and you'll see our Renovation Nation pop up. It's a logo of Renovation Nation and RTM Roofing, and catch all the videos we've done. So if you missed any of the shows, well, pretty much almost since the first of the year, Brandon, I started out just like your typical podcaster you saw in 2020.
Yeah.
When people were bored. I had a decent little camera and audio because me and Dwayne and all them, we StreamYard. It's a StreamYard service as Zoom and, to where we can have meetings and stuff like that and not have to be at the same place because, I don't like hanging around him.
Yeah, he's
I'm just
awful,
kidding.
isn't he?
He's terrible. But no, but nevertheless, that great. I said, if I'm already doing the radio, why, everything's video now,
Shut
right?
up.
And
you're going to take everything to the next level?
well, no, it's just another way because
No way.
You know
I
what I
don't
do now?
believe it.
We've talked AI. We talked AI off air and stuff.
You're
And now
cutting edge.
with my AI that I've been working with since last fall, which I should have got in it before then. Actually, it's a little before that. That when I see an article, I'll just quickly snap a picture of it or send a link to the article, jump into my AI and say, give me the top 10 points of this.
Nice.
And then boom, and I've read articles and checked. Sometimes he'll get some things wrong, but very rarely anymore.
Wow.
And it's just a more efficient way of quickly getting what I want to see. Now I don't know where I was going with that again.
I have no idea. That's okay. I'm riding with you.
You have that effect on me. It's like I'm talking to shoestring again. I ain't seen you.
I'll ride with you. We'll go see what we can see.
Last time I saw you was in Green Hills. And I actually got a roof call and went out there in your truck. So Linda was in the driveway.
Yep.
And Linda's was his red GMC that I sold him way back when he redid it.
Stolen.
They got stolen. That was a great truck.
It was, man. I had it was if I'd have painted it, it was restored.
It was my ex-father-in-law. Well, he's never an ex. It was my older father-in-law's truck that I got from. Great truck, 3-speed.
Yep.
That thing was a beast.
It was awesome. It'd pull a shed off.
And
its
you
foundation.
you freaking dialed it in and you got it right. Man, someone
no
stole it, man. That's just poor Linda. But anyhow, so after all that, you're listening to Renovation Nation. Now, if it's time for your annual roof inspection, call RTM Roofing at 615-500-0751, 500-0751 for all your roofing, siding, soffit, fascia, gutters, chimney caps, and commercial repair and replacements, and skylight needs too. And I will remind you, because I've not said it today, for all of 2025, automatically we give 10% off retail to anyone. If it's $10,000, it's now $9,000. If our estimate comes up $20,000, it's now $18,000. I changed that for everybody about a couple years ago because inflation was killing us, killing everybody. But this year I wanted to top something off for an additional 5%, totaling 15% off retail jobs, not insurance, because there's legalities to that. But all retail jobs, you're paying out of pocket if you're a first responder. And first responders are police, firemen, I normally forget somebody, hospital workers. If you're critical and take care of people and a first responder, 15% off. If you're military, active, retired, Gold Star family, 15% off. And the cherry on top this year that we're adding, if you're over 62, especially with the market today and whatever's going on. I know it's halfway what's going on, I think, but I don't know half time what day it is. But you need the money. You need to save the money. And so anybody over 62, 15% off. All year long, I don't know how long we'll keep this going, but it may be indefinitely. But it's definitely in 2025. So now, back to Brandon Mitchell. And I think when we were leaving that last segment, I was like, maybe I'll get a contract. He's talking a lot, but I don't know. So anyhow, we got off on cabinets. I squirreled that.
There's no dead air with you two, with us together. We could talk for 7 years.
100%. But I wanted to find out because, even off there, I was talking about, I discovered in 07, 08, somewhere like that, we were going to do cabinets, a cabinet maker.
Yep.
Right? And they were like $400. It was an oak cabinet. It wasn't your laminated. It was the real deal, right? Mm-hmm. And it was going to be like $420. Now, it all depends on what handles and what openers and springs. And hold
on. Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute.
But it was $425 a foot, is my saying.
I don't want anybody that's listening to think that you can't get cabinets for cheaper than $15,000.
No.
Okay? So let's be real and let's be frank about it. as a homeowner, so how the price changes on them is just construction and then what kind of materials they're using.
Right.
But you're only dealing with the front and the hinges.
There's no back.
You personally, you're only dealing with like drawers, doors, and the front of it.
And that's the most expensive part, isn't it?
Can be made of particle board. It's not desirable, but I've seen it in $1 million homes.
Yes.
I've seen people throw particle board cabinets, and once it's all trimmed out, you don't know. So I'm not saying that things can happen like that, and it's not. This is just the swimming pool that I'm swimming in now.
No, 100%.
The referrals are coming from people of a certain demographic, and that's the consistency.
Size
That's true
of the kitchen
for me.
and the quality of materials.
You can totally go in and get somebody who's that is willing to do that and needs money.
You can go buy pre-made ones at Lowe's and Home Depot and install them yourself.
Yeah. You can order them online that come on flat on a thing and put them together.
What I realized was that handle, or mainly the hinge. Let me go with the hinges.
The hinges and drawer closers are the selling
could
points.
Be that's where you were at $200 a foot, let's say, right, for the wood and all this and that and labor, But then once you add the hinges and the handles, all of a sudden you're at $400 a foot. You're like, wait a minute, that's just a hinge.
Yeah,
but there are some nice ones out there.
There are, yeah. So
back to the contract.
So anyway, so basically. Back to the process. So at that point I would come out, and at that point I do it enough that I know in my head while I'm talking to him about how much this project's going to cost.
Right.
For plumbing, electrical, everything. I'll go home, check a few things, and then I literally I text him and I say, look, my cost is in this price range. Okay? Mm-hmm. I know it. I do it enough that this is what I'm going to charge you to do it. Well, mainly when they're meeting me, we're still a month and a half out, and they're really seeing, okay, we like the numbers on these cabinets, but how much is Brandon? Mm-hmm. And so they just need a number from me. Yeah. And I don't throw at them flippantly and come back and go, oh, it's $7,000 more than it was. We just need something to get the ball rolling, because as soon as the cabinets are ordered, we're on the clock.
Fair enough.
I start working backwards. My contract is different than most. I don't know anybody that does this, but mine's production driven because I'm probably ADD and little on the spectrum. And I love order and efficiency and all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I know that I'm inconveniencing people, and I know that they're trusting me with their money because it's not cheap.
It's not.
And so as soon as the cabinets are ordered, I know roughly what time frame we're talking about here. And then depending on the scope of the project, I work backwards from that delivery date to get everything ready, because my goal is to try to demo and get it to where I'm installing the cabinets as quickly as possible after demo.
Because after you got the cabinets up, now you can do everything else.
No, the cabinets set the tee up for the template for your countertops.
Right.
If you're doing stone.
That's what,
which puts a brakes. Once you're at a certain point where that's happening, you're kind of at a standstill on that project, at least the way I do it. Mm-hmm. And so I'll tell them it'll be chaotic, and then it's going to be 10 days of nothing,
Oh, yeah.
And so...
And where's he at? He's not getting this stuff in here.
Yeah, and then once it comes back in, it's crazy again. But the thing that differs from me is all those dates before we ever start the project. Like, I'm one of the only people that I know that give you a contract that says I will be done by December the 13th or whatever.
The only thing that can caveat that is if something didn't come in or got damaged in shipping and stuff like that.
There's provisions for that, and most people aren't.
But all things being equal.
My point is, even if I miss that by 2 days, isn't that better? I mean, I know people have been 6 weeks without a kitchen because there's no organization on my side. What? And I give the homeowner dates. I'm like, you have to have all your specialty lighting in here by November the 14th. Mm-hmm. And if not, you may get back charged because you're jacking my schedule up. So once the homeowner employs me, they've kind of become my employee, and I tell them that. I'm like, look, you're going to have hurdles you have to jump. So
fair enough. Yeah. Well, sitting here with Brandon Mitchell, you can reach him at 615-456-5166. Again, that's 615-456-5166 if you're into cabinets and kitchens and bathrooms. That seems to be his thing. Well, he's going to be coming back here over the next few weeks. You'll be hearing a little bit more from Brandon. We got some crazy things in. But you're listening to Renovation Nation, coming at you live from Super Talk 997. Everyone have a great Saturday. See you next week. Welcome to RTM Roofing Commercial Division. Not only do we do replacements, we also do commercial repairs. Budgeting for you. And when times like this happen and you need to stop the water, you can't just change a panel. You roll over it. With RTM and Everest Roofing Systems. Their products are beyond any that I've ever worked with. And at RTM Roofing, we only use the best. And it doesn't cost as much as the rest. Call RTM Roofing at 615-500-0751. Thanks for watching Renovation Nation. Hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and share button.